Good morning, and welcome to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
And we welcome you to Talk of the Town for this Tuesday, June 9th. I'm Gary Stevens. The Master Gardener, Jan Musen, will be joining us a little after 10 for the Yard and Garden Hour. She is with the Bride Seed in Zeeland. Patty Vanderberg will be with us in less than an hour with another edition of What's New Around Holland. And we'll have a sliver of open line following the 11 o'clock news. But on the second Tuesday of the month, we devote our first segment to what is going on at the Holland Museum. We are glad to have on the other end of our Zoom connection the Executive Director of the Holland Museum, Ricki Levine. Ricki, good morning and welcome back to Talk of the Town.
Good morning, Gary. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Glad you are with us on a Zoom connection. But of course, if you have a question about the museum, no. You cannot join the Zoom connection. We always ask that you talk to us the old-fashioned way over the phone at 395-1450, 395-1450, and we'd be able to get you in on the conversation. Ricki, first of all, I need to ask you about the situation involving the museum itself. It's been closed as a result of COVID-19 circumstances. Right now, it still is closed, even though more retail and businesses are opening up. What is the situation right now about the possible reopening of the Holland Museum? Has there been a time frame established yet for that?
Well, we are gearing up for sure. The governor indicated that museums could open on June 8th, which was this past Monday, which was great. She told us that the week prior we weren't quite there yet, and we're still not. Staff will be coming back, I'm hoping in the next week or so, and the reason they haven't come back is that we don't have all of our cleaning chemicals on site yet. They've been ordered, and we're waiting for those because we want to keep our staff safe. And once the staff is back, which again, I expect in the next week or so, then we will be gearing up for our public opening. The big thing that we're waiting for on that end, in addition to the chemicals to clean and disinfect appropriately, is our sneeze guard, which we've seen all over in different retail and banks, as well as grocery stores, to protect the visitor, to protect our staff. And because we have a very special custom desk, we need a very special custom sneeze guard. So that has been ordered, and plexiglass is in high demand right now, but I've been assured we should have that in the next couple of weeks. So we're looking at, I don't want to give a specific date, Gary, because I'm not absolutely sure, but we're looking at early July to be open to the public. And that would be the museum only, not the historic houses. They will be closed for the time being.
That answers that other question I was going to ask about the Capon House and some of the other, solely just the museum. But again, as they say, stay tuned for those attractions. However, the museum has not been quiet since we've had the situation starting up, a lot of it online. And another version of the trivia night comes up a week from Thursday, the 18th. Tell us a little bit about trivia night round 2 and how the first one went.
The first one was a blast. We had somewhere between 42 and 48 participants. I don't have an exact number. And this is on Facebook Live, so it's real simple to do. You can do it from your phone or your computer or your tablet. It's at 8 o'clock on, as you said, Thursday the 18th. And it's just 30 questions of trivia. Some of them are Holland related, some of them are Michigan related, but others are art history or music history. So you don't even have to be a native of Holland to have fun and participate. And people had so much fun. It's at 8 o'clock, so if you have little kids, chances are they're in bed by then. If you have older kids, have them participate with you. Have a whole family event. It takes probably about 45 minutes to 50 minutes to complete the whole game, and there are prizes for the winner. So it's a fun way to kind of get involved, stimulate your brain a little bit, as well as have fun.
Certainly the competitive aspect is one thing. Yeah, you can do a little cheating and, Google some of the things you have to answer questions, but I think more anything else.
Don't have time, Gary. You won't have time to Google.
I was kind of wondering.
And if you do, that's okay. It's between you and, whoever you're accountable to. Nobody else will know.
But the thing is, more than anything else, the point I wanted to make was the fact that it's just having that knowledge and getting to have that knowledge of the history of not only the city of Holland and the Holland region, but also of the state as well. And, you can Google all you want and maybe try to win that prize, but the real lasting prize of having that knowledge, I think, is just as important, if even more important than having that family membership.
Sure, and it's just a lot of fun too. I mean, it's just another activity for people to do. I know things are opening up, which is really wonderful, and we're all excited about that. So there'll be more things that you can do. But if you choose not to, or that's the night that you're not going out to a restaurant, then why not participate in trivia night?
If you got a question about the Holland Museum, the executive director, Ricki Levine, is with us at 395-1450, 395-1450. Now, the trivia night on Facebook Live a week from Thursday is just part of a lot of online content that the museum has been able to do over the last few weeks as we've been trying to be taking care of things on the health side. Some of the other aspects that the museum has put online that have been very successful. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, there's quite a few. We've been doing walking tours. So a lot of people who know the museum are familiar with the tours we do this time of year, spring and into early fall, where we do architectural tours. We do a tour about the fire in Holland, which everyone should be aware of. We also have, so we've put those online. So you actually can walk around with your phone and do the tour yourself. So it's a lot of fun to do that because we can't have docents out there. The social distancing would be an issue for you to be able to hear the docent. But if you wanted to do that with a group of people that you're comfortable spending time with, you can do that. And the architecture in Holland, oh my goodness, it is fascinating. And the origins of the architecture, and so much of the buildings in the architecture are since the fire, but there are some houses that remain or other buildings that remain that lasted or survived the fire. But both of those tours are available online, and we're adding others. We are about to put up a cemetery tour, which will be fascinating. We got a lot of the information from Randy Vanderwater. He did a virtual tour in the sense that he talked about the different burial sites and who was buried and what the stories were there. He didn't actually take people on the walk, which we were hoping to do this summer. And again, that's been curtailed, but you can do that yourself in just a matter of a week or so when it's up live. So things like that we're trying to do. We're also trying to engage people with other museums and other events that are going on all over the world so that, you can still learn and explore and get your knowledge. So for the next trivia night, you'll have some more information under your belt. We've done a whole Here and Now series, which has been very popular on social media, where we show, we have over 24 images of buildings that have been around for a while. And whenever the photographs were taken, and they go over several decades, and now what do they look like? And what's in that building now? And it's created a lot of discussion on social media. Oh, I remember when that was there, or my father or grandfather worked there when it was so-and-so. And it's been so much fun just because I'm not a native, so I'm learning so much from the folks that have gotten that history under their belt, and they're sharing it with everybody else.
395-1450. Good morning. You're on the line with Ricki Levine of the museum.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Stevens. Good morning, Ricki. You've got a wonderful museum there, and we bring our relatives every summer there. But I notice there's a lack of parking space. I think you should take a look at building a parking space on West 9th, right behind the gazebo there at the Centennial Park, maybe making a turnaround with 20 parking spaces. And I know you want more people to come there, and you might want to talk to our great mayor, Nathan Boss, about that proposal, building a turnaround driveway and a parking lot just to the south of the museum. That's just a suggestion. Thank you.
I appreciate the call. 395-1450. Well, yeah, there might be immediate access issues with parking, but there's a lot of parking in downtown Holland to get the new deck, basically kitty corner away on 9th as well. That certainly will help get people to the museum. You have to walk a little bit, but hey, they say walking's good for you, right?
They do. And, we do have some dedicated spots, and I agree, we don't have enough that are designated specifically for the museum, but the city lot behind the museum has some designated spots there, as well as some handicap parking too.
395-1450 is the number if you wish to have a conversation with Ricki Levine of the Holland Museum. Before we talk about the exhibit that unfortunately was going to start up real grand and it's been, shall we say, curtailed, but eventually people will be able to walk in to take a look at it, which is the Heinz in Holland. Before that, the main spotlighted exhibit is dealing with an issue that we are dealing now as a society, not only in the United States, but around the world, the issue of racism and the issue of race relations and obviously the death of George Floyd and the situations along those lines. It brings back the exhibit that you had late last year and into early part of this year that the Holland Museum did have.
It did, and thank you for bringing that up, Gary, because this is very important for museums, and it's very important for a museum like a history museum, because we need to embrace the story that's being told now, and we need to look at our past. And I think we've talked about it in the past. We did our strategic plan. We now have 1 year under our belt, but I still call it the new strategic plan because it's very different than the approach the museum had before. And one of our 4 priorities is to celebrate our diversity. So it was very important to me personally, and I think to the staff and board as well, that we put out a statement, which we did following George Floyd's murder and the associated response that the communities all over the world, as you said, have reacted. We feel racism of any kind is absolutely abhorrent and should be eliminated. And we support the Black community. We support the Black Lives Matter movement in this regard. And we will do whatever we can to continue to be a place to have those conversations, to have that dialogue. The pandemic itself, and I think that probably, and I'm not an expert in this, but this is what I'm hearing from a lot of the resources and individuals of expertise that I've been listening to, the pandemic is showing the disparity in our healthcare, just showing disparity in so many ways. During the Them exhibit, which is the exhibit you're talking about, which was from the Jim Crow Museum of Racist Memorabilia, during that period, we had a number of programs. And one of the programs we had was about healthcare disparity. And there was a lot of conversation before the program even happened that there is not disparity in healthcare. And our experts proved very much that it does exist. It exists right here in West Michigan. And obviously what we're hearing with the disparity and how many people of color are disproportionately affected by the COVID-19 is another indication. And I think the combination of George Floyd's murder as well as this pandemic and how it's affected that community in particular is bringing that passion out and that story out. And I think in the long run, this might be really positive. It may be turning the direction of a lot of what's going on in this country and in our own community.
395-1450, 395-1450. If you have a question for Ricki Levine of the Holland Museum, she'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450. Let's go back to what is being spotlighted now at the museum. That is Heinz in Holland, a story with heart. And we talked a little bit about it our last conversation. The exhibit's, let's put it this way, it's ready to be seen by the public. And once the museum opens, it'll definitely be a good exercise to take a look at the pickle plant and how Heinz has been a part of our community.
Absolutely. And all we need to do is dust it off a little bit so that everybody can come in. It opened on March 12th. And we closed the evening of March 13th. So if you were lucky enough to come to the member opening, you got to see it, or came in the following day. But it was destined, it was on our calendar to close mid-August, and we will extend that. I haven't come up with a specific date yet. A lot of it depends when we actually open, but it will be into September before we close it. So we will make sure that we have more opportunity for people to see it. And if you remember, the gallery that we put our temporary exhibits in now is the Focus Gallery, which is a very small gallery. So again, once we open, we are going to be very careful about social distancing. So we will limit the number of people that are in the museum overall, but specifically in that gallery, which is a very intimate part of the museum, but you will make sure that we're doing it safely for everyone as well. And we'll make sure you get an opportunity to see that exhibit. It's a lot of fun. It's very informative. And it's about right here, Heinz and Holland. You know, it's the story that is here. It continues here, and we want to celebrate that. One of our sponsors is actually Kraft Heinz, and another sponsor for that exhibit is Chemical Bank.
Ricki, we like to bring this up from time to time about people being a part of the museum with membership. Tell us about the membership, what its perks are, what the membership levels are, and give us a sort of a brief rundown of how people can be a part of the Holland Museum.
Oh, we love our members. They are our driving force, and they are super impacted by what's going on and the fact that they can't come in the museum, but they've also been really gracious and wonderful. We've been reaching out to our members and saying hello and doing check-ins. So there are 3 types of memberships. Real basic, $35. It includes 1 individual, and you can bring a guest every time you come to the museum. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a couple, although that's fine as well, but you could be a single person who likes to go to museums and bring friends. $50 would be a family membership. That includes 2 families, 2 adults and children under 17. And that can be grandparents. So if you spend a lot of time with your grandkids and you want to bring them into the museum on a regular basis, make it a family membership. And our premium membership is pretty cool. For $125, it includes 4 adults and children under 17, but it also gives you the membership into the NARM program, North American Reciprocal Membership. And there are a lot of museums all over North America that accept that. So if you're a member of the Holland Museum, you get a card, you walk into a museum in Chicago, for instance, and you can get in without paying their admission. And on top of that, you get a subscription to Michigan History Magazine, so you're prepared for the next trivia night as well. So all of our memberships, really, those are the basics, but what you get with that is unlimited admission to the museum with those associated people, depending on your membership level. You get a weekly e-newsletter. You get a quarterly printed newsletter. You get 10% discount in the museum gift shop, and you get discounts on some of the other programs that we charge admission fees to, although we try to keep our programs costs either at a minimum or for free. Because we really want to make the museum as accessible as possible for everyone. So it really gets you involved in the museum. You become part of the museum. You become part of our family. You get invited to our membership openings, our exhibit openings. I mentioned the Heinz exhibit opening was March 12th, and that was a member-only event. So really cool. You get to see a preview of an exhibit. You get a reception, entertainment, some remarks from some interesting people. So it's just a great way to support the museum if you're so inclined.
And of course, more information will be at hollandmuseum.org, and we'll put a link on that to that website when we put the description of this podcast on our website at WHTC.com a little bit later on. A serious question, Ricki, because of the fact that the admissions are not available right now. Museums, nonprofits have struggled a little bit financially. How tough has it been for the Holland Museum to sort of try to stay afloat during these tough times economically, as well as with the COVID-19 situation?
Well, economically, we've taken some hits, but we've been very fortunate. We were able to get a PPP loan, which covered our payroll primarily for 5 weeks. So that's been a real help because the museum staff is very small, but without them, we could not do anything. These virtual programming that we've been talking about would not exist if we didn't have the staff. Our information that we're sharing on social media would not exist if we didn't have the staff. And then gearing up and getting ready for the future would not happen. So that's been really helpful. We also have reached out to our support, which are members, donors, the community and asked for help, and people have been extremely generous. So for these first 3 months that we've been going through this, we're in pretty good shape. My concern, and I think this is true of a lot of arts and cultural organizations in particular, but all nonprofits, is what's going to happen going forward. I don't know how comfortable people are going to be coming to the museum. We're a small museum. Our spaces are small. So even though we are going to do all the protocols that we've been told by local and state authorities and by the CDC, people may not be as comfortable coming to a museum. And so we may not have the attendance we're looking for. Certainly our programs are all shut down for June and July because we can't have that many people in a space at a given time. We're looking at trying to expand and do some of those programs outside, but we're limited because we don't have outside space for our own programs to happen. So we're exploring different options, but I'm not concerned with the right now. I'm concerned with 3 months and 6 months and 9 months out. And that's why a membership would make a huge difference if you're not already a member or if you're about to renew your membership, as well as donations. We rely on the kindness of strangers and friends. And we really, really ask for everyone to consider supporting arts and cultural organizations, because when we get back to a sense of normal, you're going to want them. You're going to want to go to your museums and go to your theaters and go to your galleries and listen to symphonies. And you will not be able to do that if we're not there.
And of course, we don't want to have a situation where, we're going to have to deal with this again come fall when we might have to shut things down. But let's worry about that a little bit later on in the year, shall we, Ricki?
Yes, yeah, hopefully that won't come to be, but that's why we have to do what we are doing now to be safe and make sure that that resurgence doesn't happen. If you look at history and you look at the Spanish flu, the second phase of the Spanish flu was more deadly than the first.
Yeah,
we should learn from history.
Yeah, you're right about that. Learning from what happened more than 100 years ago. Again, more information about the Holland Museum will be on our webpage at WHTC.com. We'll put a link to hollandmuseum.org when we put our podcast with Ricki Levine up during the news break coming up, and then we'll have the video with our Zoom conversation with Ricki. We'll put a link to that also on our webpage at WHTC.com in the description for this podcast a little bit later on this afternoon. Ricki Levine from the Holland Museum, I want to thank you very much for joining us this morning for the weekly conversation about the museum. We hope that when we chat next month, it will be perhaps in person and talking about an open Holland Museum.
Thanks, Gary. Stay well.
Thank you very much, Ricki Levine of the Holland Museum on WHTC's Talk of the Town. Coming up in a few moments, it's CBS News with Deborah Rodriguez, followed by WHTC News with Peg McNichol, and then we'll have the Master Gardener, Jan Musen, join us from the Brine Seed in Zeeland with the Yard and Garden Hour. That's all straight ahead on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.